Welcome to the Our Team Podcast, powered by eXp Realty. Are you an agent looking to level up? Are you someone looking to buy or sell real estate? Fantastic. This is the show for you.
All right, welcome back to the Our Team Podcast. We have a couple of really cool guests here. Oh, I'd always say that. You guys aren't guests. You're on the team. But we've decided, we do a lot of talking on our team. We sit around, we kind of powwow. One of the, you can't see it from these camera angles, but we have this beautiful table in the middle of the office. We all kind of sit around and just talk about everything. Mm-hmm. We role play together. We talk about, our wins. There's always a topic of conversation going on at the Our Team, right?
Absolutely.
In the office.
Absolutely.
And so we've been kind of talking about the market in general. And so we were sitting around, we were talking about how, hey, it's time to do a podcast, and we're talking about some really good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's turn it into a podcast. We were talking about the market.
Yeah.
The current condition of the market. Now, Steph, when you came in to our team, mm-hmm. the market was it was frenzy town. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's changed quite a bit.
Oh, in June. The wave crested and everything shifted. Everything shifted since June. So how do you like the market now compared to, say, how it was in June? I love it. I am excited. This is the market's always exciting, but prior to what was happening 18 months before June or the last couple of years with the overlist price, seller's market, it was a one-trick pony, and there wasn't a lot of room for negotiation on the terms of the buyer or the seller side. Everything just slanted towards the seller, yep. which really kind of made for some unfair transactions and an unfair market. Mm-hmm. And so it's really refreshing to see it acclimating to a more healthful pace and a more fair and balanced market, so that you can get more fair and balanced transactions mm-hmm. and happier clients on the other end who don't feel like they had to give up everything.
Yeah.
Well, and paying fair price.
And paying fair market value.
Right.
Absolutely.
Do you think the market is actually fully balanced at this point?
No, actually. We are still leaning towards a seller's market.
Why is that? Why is it still a seller's market?
Based on the absorption rates of how much inventory is on market, mm-hmm. what the days on market are, and if no new homes were to go on the market today, how long would it take for all of the existing inventory to sell? Mm-hmm. As long as that answer to that question is less than 6 months,
mm-hmm. or 5 months in our area.
5 months, then we're on a seller's. Which way was I saying it? If it's less than
seller's market.
If it's less than 5 months, then it's a seller's market.
Yep, correct.
And we're still hovering around 2 months right now.
But as a buyer, I would feel more comfortable and more excited about buying right now, regardless if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, because I think we're getting the homes for the fair value. You're paying a good price. You're having incentives right now.
Well, there's negotiations. We're getting seller credits. We're getting requests for repairs. We're getting appraisal negotiations. If the appraisal is not coming in at value, we're negotiating it back down to value.
Right. But you couldn't do that before because you were competing with 100 other offers.
And there's 37 other people who are willing to spend more. Why would they sell it to you? Yeah.
I think about our VIP buyer program that we have, where we are telling people in our brochure all of the things that we can do for them as agents, mm-hmm. including, get them requests for repairs negotiated and in their favor. It's part of our VIP buyer program to even say, hey, we're going to get you a home warranty. Well, it's a lot easier to get those things now in this market because, again, it's not a buyer's market yet. We need at least 5+ months worth of inventory.
Oh, we'll know when it's a buyer's market.
We
will know when it's a buyer's market.
But we're heading towards that, and because we were in such a seller's frenzy, what we actually were calling that an exotic market. As we look back at what was going on, that was the most exotic seller's market I've ever seen in my career. It was crazy. And so we're moving away from that, and the market hasn't crashed. It's not going to crash. It's not even crashing. It's just adjusting. Mm-hmm. And we're moving away from that seller's market closer to a buyer's market. And because of that, it is, just like you said, Steph, it's a lot more fun. I mean, we pride ourselves as being really good agents. We provide value, information. We're very good at what we do with our clients.
Right.
we didn't even have a chance to show how good we were.
No, that was the hard part. It was like your hands were tied. Like all the things that make me a great agent weren't useful, weren't necessary. Like, I mean, granted, there were things that also, but at the same time,
once you got under contract, then you still needed to be a good agent to really help keep things together.
Or there was just nothing you could do. I mean, if the I couldn't tell you how many times I was the second highest buyer, the second highest offer, or the leading offer until someone came in removing all contingencies, until someone came in $30,000 over, until someone came in with an all cash offer, until I had very qualified buyers. I wrote offers for 6 weeks straight for 3 very qualified buyers and didn't get one accepted. Like,
incredible.
It's heartbreaking and it's frustrating because then after 6 weeks you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any income coming in. Like I didn't put anything into contract for 6 weeks, and it's like. And there was no time. There was no time to show a property. Like a house would come on the market and you would have a window of opportunity for 3 hours on Saturday to show it. And if you had 3 pre-qualified buyers shopping in 3 different cities and you only had a 3 hour of opportunity to show that property, and you had to get that personal entry advisory disclosure signed for every property for every person ahead of time. Sending out all this documentation, and it couldn't be by paper. It would have to be by digital transfer only because we weren't exchanging paperwork hand to hand. And it just was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. Like you blinked twice and the house was gone. Yeah. I showed a property and it was $500 on the driveway. And by the time we got into the kitchen, it had gone up $25,000. That's crazy. It went up $25,000 from the driveway to the kitchen.
So if you would have started in the kitchen, you would have saved your client money.
By the time we got to the backyard, it was up another 25.
They weren't open houses; they were just auctions.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and it was auction style pricing.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it in Palm Springs. I would go into a house. They would have everybody there. You present your bid. 800 would be the number they'd put up to get people there. It'd sell for 1.2. Like 400 over. Like whoa. What was this all about?
And then trying to convince buyers that we're in this auction-style pricing market where the list and telling sellers, like, well, we're going to list high so we can drop the price. And it's like, well, no, you want to list just below market value to drive up the price. And getting people to shift that mentality of marketing was such a challenge. And it's so interesting because as soon as the market crested, as soon as it shifted, instantly people fell back into that like behavior pattern of list high so you can reduce the price and offer a price below the list price so that you can negotiate your way up.
And that's what we see now with some sellers is when they're like, oh wait, I missed that wave, but I still want to get that price that I could have gotten a year ago. So when they go to list their house, they're not being realistic with the numbers of saying, okay, well, I want it to be priced at this, but the market's probably not that anymore, So
they got accustomed to listing it for $700,000 and selling it for $850.
Right.
And so now they want to list for $850, thinking they're going to get $950.
and they're going to lose out because they're going to sit on the market for 60 days and then they're going to have price reductions. They're going to get stale. And
it's up to us to educate those clients.
Absolutely, and that's why you need a good agent. You need a good team. You need a good representative.
Yeah, absolutely. So other than the fact that we have a little more breathing room now because things have slowed down, and let's address that for a quick second. So the market did shift. I mean, it wasn't what caused the shift. I think we could all sum it up and just say, well, in order to curb inflation, the Fed had to raise rates, slow down people from buying, right? And in doing so, it caused rates to go up, of course. And that caused a lot of people that were ready to purchase and trying to purchase in that 3% range kind of pushed them out when rates hit 4, 5, 6, even up to 7%. That's the main reason why this market has shifted. It's not because every home in America is not desirable anymore.
It's the homes are the same.
The homes have not changed. The neighborhoods are the same. The schools are the same. The communities are the same. So,
but what it costs to buy it?
What it costs? So
in interest.
Before,
but those can change. There's tools out there now that we've had to manage that, and if you have a good agent, they can explain those to you.
That's right. That's what I wanted to kind of jump into now and next is. So we have time. We have breathing room since things have slowed down and shifted. What are some other benefits to buying a home right now, as compared to say 6 or 9 months ago when it was all frenzy town?
Termite inspections.
Yeah.
Termite inspections are happening again. If you've noticed, buildings are tented now, whereas they weren't for the last 2 years because those were not a part of contracts.
Is that why I'm seeing all these little circuses pop up around town?
I've noticed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like once a week I see a tented building, and I'm like, oh, is the market? Do we have termites again? We didn't have termites for 2 years. Weird. They were feasting too.
Social distancing.
Social distancing. Yeah, they were staying away. So, termite inspections, home warranties for clients, again, seller credits. That's my favorite. I think that really just balances out a transaction.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to get a little bit of a seller credit.
Yep. And sellers are willing to do it too. They already know going in, I have a choice here. I can lower my price by $30,000, or I can be totally open to buyers' closing costs, recurring and unrecurring closing costs. I can help out on that side, instead of lowering the price. So they're accustomed to it now. They're not, there was that 2 or 3 month window where sellers were kind of rejecting where the market's at. They wanted a price high. They were sitting. Now they're chasing the market. Now sellers are actually coming in going, look, I know the market's changed. Where do you think I need to be? And then when we tell them, they say, okay, let's do that. So it's that has changed.
Well, I think about the mindset of the the person that, well, not the mindset, but the position that the person that bought 12 months ago and the person that's going to buy today. Which one would you rather be? I'd rather be the one today, because I know that the person 12 months ago has a long way to go till he or she makes up what they paid over.
Agree.
That is so hard to say, though, because a year ago I was telling people, you have to buy this home because the interest rates, and we don't know. But on that day, that year ago, that was the best market of that day. And that person needed to buy on that day. And they had the money to buy.
Right.
And for the last year, they've lived in their home.
Right.
They've had a home to live in.
Absolutely.
They didn't worry about their landlord selling on them or anything like that. So there are so many different ways to look at the market. And it breaks my heart to say, like, a buyer today is better than a buyer from last year, because that makes me feel fraudulent. Like, I didn't do a good job for my buyers last year.
They're in a good position today. They knew the position then.
I think that's important, though, to take that into context, too, because buyers will tell us, like, oh, the market's bad because of the interest rates and da-da-da. Like, well, there's so many intrinsic reasons to buy a home. It's not just the value of that property on that day.
Rent is still 100% interest.
Rent is still 100% interest.
You love that line. That's like
I love that.
That might be the fifth time I've heard you say that today.
I know
where I learned
that.
No.
Rent is 100%.
She taught
I
me
think
that
it's
one.
important to sort of unpack that. So you feel like it might be a little bit, we feel a little fraudulent because we're saying now is a better time to buy. Buyers are in a better position right now than they were 9 months ago. Well, we were selling a lot of houses 9 months ago. So what does that make us? It makes us delivering for our clients because we were working with clients at that time.
Yes.
That absolutely wanted that house.
Right.
And there was no way I was going to change their mind. So I'm like, hey, Frank, it's okay if you wait a little bit. The market's going to cool off. This can't go on forever. So if you don't have, oh, no, Bryan, I need this home, this pool. We're doing this. We just came out of a place in society where we couldn't go on vacations and do that. I need a pool home. I'm never going to go through that again, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
And so many of the buyers from last year were forced into buying at that time, too, because the prices had gone up and landlords were selling. They were raising rents.
Rent was going
people
up.
had to move. They didn't have a choice. Like, I can't tell you how many people called me saying, I have to move. I have to move.
We were there to help
them. We have
them.
60 days. I have 60 days.
Right. We
And
were there
long-term-
to assist that whole process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long term, every one of these buyers is going to be in good shape.
That's
We've
right.
Seen
That's right.
We've seen the trends over years.
Exactly.
We know where it's going. Everyone that buys a home, it's a great investment. It's the best investment you're going to have.
No
We're not
question.
doing balloon ARMs. We're doing
No, we're not.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 ARMs.
Yep.
What do you say to the buyer that says, well, I know it crested, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer because
No.
I think it's going to go further down, right? I keep hearing this a lot.
If you just
from
look,
my
let's
customers.
unpack this one part of it. 9 months ago, if a home was on the market for $600,000, that buyer was going to get a 3.5% interest rate,
Right.
but they were going to have to pay at least $50,000
Right.
over list price. So that is now a $700,000 house at 3%.
Right.
Okay. Today, that $650,000 home that's been on the market for, say, 80 days now, you can probably get it for about, I don't know. I mean, it's not exaggerating to say $599 is probably a good offer starting point.
I was thinking 585. Yeah.
So they're gonna let's just be really fair and say they're gonna get it for $6,000.
Okay.
So they just got a home, same exact house, for $100,000 less. Well, yeah, it's true. They're going to have to pay 6.5% in a mortgage.
Oh, yeah, but if they're putting 10% down, there's
a
difference as well.
Let's say everything is exactly the same. The guy back then put down 10%. He's at 3.5% interest, or 3. We're working with the same one that saved $100,000 on the house because of the market.
Right.
But unfortunately, he's going to be at 6.5%, so his payment's going to be $1,500 or let's just say $2,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
If you can afford that payment, first of all, you're going to refi as soon as things adjust. But how long do you have to stay in that home to make up that huge $100,000 difference for the same house?
Long time.
It's a very long time. But you know what? That time will almost never come if you consider the fact that until you refi, or I should say that I didn't mean to say that time will never come. For the person that feels like they lost out and they're never going to get a good deal, they already got a good deal. Because if you do all the math and you figure out what you can itemize and as far as on your taxes too,
Yeah.
you're now above the threshold, so you can write that off. So if you have a 6.5% mortgage, you're going to get so much back at the end of the year that it's going to probably equal pretty dang close annualized.
Absolutely.
To the person that overpaid for the house and has a 3%. So right now, it's not a lie to say, or it's not even disingenuous or salesy or slick or anything. It's completely honest to say that it's about equal, but it's a better time. It's easier to find what you want, and at the end of the day, it's about the same annualized out of your pocket. So I think it's up to us as agents to control that narrative, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and explain too
Yeah.
the difference. I think it's understanding what the difference is in price and interest rate then and price and interest rate now.
Yeah.
What I can do with that in the future.
Yeah.
You know, the house, you're going to marry the house and date the rate, correct? I mean, you know,
I've heard that before.
The
That's
rate,
good.
the rate
Is that
can
why
change.
I still rent? Agent, I'm a contradiction.
You pay
I
100% interest.
I live life as a contradiction.
Yep. It's okay. She's between mansions right
But the
now.
market wasn't my market. The last 2
That's
years
right.
wasn't my market.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $30,000 over the appraised value.
It's not bad to rent. There are seasons in your life where you have to rent. When we strategized our home purchases over the years, there were several times where it made sense for us to rent, and we ended up getting kind of caught into a rental realm, and we rented for about 2 years. I'm glad we did because it ended up paying off, but we didn't want to rent that long because sort of like, we need to keep renting.
Right.
Meanwhile, I was selling all these homes, but I told people, here's why I'm renting. And I was helping people sell their homes and get them into rentals because they were doing kind of the same thing we were. The market back then had peaked like crazy, where $400,000 homes hit $645, and we were like, "You've got to be kidding!"
Yeah.
And so everyone is in a different walk in life, a different place. There's a buyer for every house, and there's a need for people. There's always a need for people to move, and they have to move. And so we were just discussing, and why we're doing this podcast in the first place is those people that are out there that need to move, that don't feel bad that you have to do it now. There's actually some serious advantages to doing it now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, I just got a text on my Apple Watch here that Jay has his
She's sponsored by Apple, by the way.
Jay has his pre-approval.
Is this a client of yours?
A gentleman who came in through online lead.
Can you leave his personal information?
Wanted to see a
on here as well?
property.
Did you want to give his social security number and his current address?
No, I'll give you his future address though
Okay.
when I sell it to him.
I wonder if we should bleep out his last name.
Probably.
Probably a good idea.
Did I say his last name?
I
just
think
said
you did.
Jay. Okay, we'll bleep it out.
We'll
Thanks.
bleep it out.
Yeah,
No,
bleep
that's
it.
very cool.
I'll tell
That's
you
a
one-
success.
Yeah.
So there's proof right there that people are out there looking.
Well, I met him
and
a couple months ago, and he wanted to see the property. And you know how things go sometimes, where the lockbox doesn't work, and it wasn't. I didn't have the code, or however.
Did you just say lockbox?
I think I did. Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything you think we left out in terms of why the market is better right now? Why it's just more refreshing to work as a realtor, or why you should be excited and still be excited if you're a buyer? Is there anything we left out?
It's fair and balanced. That's what I love
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
It's fair,
for
it's
sure.
balanced, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
The last 2 years were very unfair, very unbalanced, and very unreasonable.
Yeah.
And that's a hard position to be in when you're in the middle facilitating a transaction.
Yeah.
And you want to do a really great job for your client, but your hands are so tied, and there's literally like no leverage for negotiation. I mean, unless you want to give up your firstborn
Yeah.
or buy the sellers a boat or something so that they can, sail off into the sunset so you can take their house like a pirate. I don't know. Like there was just it was so refreshing to get a seller credit. Yeah. So refreshing. And it was solution oriented. Like the negotiation was balanced, and that felt awesome because that means that someone has something to gain by giving something
Everybody
up.
wins.
You give something up and you gain something, and it's a win-win-win.
Right.
But when you're the only one giving stuff up as a buyer,
it's tiring.
It's just
Yep. What about you, Eric?
Well, I think right now, and I'm dealing with a lot of buyers in Palm Springs, and we're dealing with now a lot of cash buyers, and then a lot of people that are planning to. We're planning to buy late in the future, 12 months, and I'm encouraging them to buy now and put it up for rent it out to pay some of their mortgage, which I think is a big strategy in a place like Palm
and that
Springs.
really works in that market because rents are amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I love about the Palm Springs market? All of the consignment stores.
And there's a lot of those.
There are so many amazing furniture consignment stores because when you think about the demographic of people who move to Palm Springs, what their lives have been, the items they've collected, and then they leave the earth there.
Yep.
So their items are left there. So the consignment stores in Palm Springs.
It's so funny, too, though, to see working in both markets, Temecula, Marietta, and then Palm Springs, splitting my time between the two. It's really two complete different markets.
You have to put on your Coachella Valley
Right.
hat,
I
and
have
you're like,
to- I
okay,
have
Southwest
to.
Riverside County
Yes.
here,
This is
Coachella Valley here.
primary bedroom community. It's all about the schools versus going
Right.
over to Coachella where it's
They don't
vacation
even know if there
homes,
is schools.
retirement.
They could care less if there's schools.
There's more prisons than schools.
Yeah, when you ask a buyer there and you say, "Are you concerned about schools?" and they say, "I'm 70. I don't care
I'm not
about
paying
schools."
taxes for schools.
Not everybody.
And we're like,
70.
well, but the resale market says you should still live in an area with good schools.
Absolutely.
I'm going to sell my home to someone that's
No, and
70.
the schools are good there.
Right.
And the
Oh,
schools
they
are
are.
good.
In the desert?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah, Coachella Valley has some good schools.
Really?
It's not all retirement.
Yeah.
We deal with a lot of middle-aged, a lot of people
Well, there's a
now
lot of-
moving from L.A., San Diego. They can work out of the house.
Right.
Why not live in Palm Springs?
And now, circling around is still a good time to buy even out there. I think across the country, we're
Yeah,
seeing the things that we're
absolutely.
talking about now,
Absolutely.
where it sort of demystifies how crazy it is. I think if you were on the fence about getting a home still, I'm hoping that you hear this podcast and say, you know what? Those guys are right. I mean, we still can buy. It's still good. There are some advantages. There's loan products that'll save us money. There's scenarios that will, in the long run, save us. If you look at it as an annualized thing with tax returns and stuff like that, at the end of the day, it's better all around.
And what do we charge to have a conversation? Nothing.
I charge
so if
nothing.
you have questions and you have concerns or your thoughts or this or that, reach out to us.
Exactly.
We're here
So
to help.
let me wrap it up and just say, if you guys do have any questions or comments, or you want to reach out to us individually, our names are on the screen. If you're listening on a podcast, you can just scroll down to the comments and find us there. We really do want to help. So if you're an agent wanting to know the best way to sort of convey this to your buyers, or if you're a buyer or a seller and you have questions regarding these things, please reach out to us. We're very easy to get a hold of. We're not secret agents. We're out there.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Our Team Podcast. Hey, wait, before you go, I wanted to quickly thank you for tuning in to the Our Team Podcast. And whether you're listening on Facebook Live or you're tuning in on YouTube or maybe listening to a podcast, I wanted to just say, if you found any value in this, would you please take the time to like and subscribe? And if you leave a comment, that really helps the show as well. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.